In this video, we're going to add our final authentication related call. It's going to be a call to log out a user, which means it is going to be a call that requires authentication. We can't log someone out unless they're logged in. And all we're going to do is remove the token from the tokens array. First up, let's define the route. It's going to be a delete route since we're trying to remove something. So I'll call app.delete to register it. And the URL for this one is going to be /users/me/token. We're trying to delete the token off of the currently logged in user. Now you're not going to need to pass the token value in via the body or some sort of URL parameter. Instead, we're just going to make this route private, which means you're going to have to be authenticated in order to ever run the code. And if you remember, inside of our authentication middleware, we store the token used right here. Request.token equals the token, so we'll be able to grab that token value out later. To add authentication, all we have to do is specify the authenticate middleware, just like we did for our other private route. And there we go. That is all we have to do. Now we can add our callback with a request and response argument. We can finish off our arrow function, and in here, we're going to actually write the code to delete the token that was used inside of the authentication middleware. To actually remove the token, all we're going to do is call a method. We have to define that method, but in here, in server.js, what we're going to do is call an instance method. We have access to the user via request.user since they're authenticated, and we can call an instance method by calling it right here. We're going to make one called remove token. Now, remove token is going to need to know which token you want to remove, but that's fine. We also have that information. It's stored on request.token. And before we actually fill out this function, let's go ahead and figure out what we want it to do in terms of a response. And then we can go ahead and actually write the code. Ideally, it would return a promise because we're going to need to respond to the user once the token has been deleted. We can attach a then callback right here. We don't need any data back. We just need to know when the token was deleted so we can respond. Response.status 200. .send is going to get the job done there. And if things don't go well for some reason, we'll respond with a 400 inside of our second callback to then. This is going to fire if there's any errors. Response.status 400. And we're going to send that back as well. Now that we know how we want to use the remove token method, let's go ahead and actually define it over inside of user.js. I'm going to scroll down. This is going to be an instance method. So I'll define it right below our last instance method. This one will be on user schema like our other instance methods have been. We're going to go on to the methods object and we're going to create remove token. Now remove token, as we just discussed, is going to need an argument. It is going to need the token to delete just like this. And all we're going to do is call the update method to update our array. Now we have this array of tokens. We defined it right here. What we want to do is remove any object from the array that has a token property equal to the value that we passed in. In order to get that done, we're going to be using a really awesome MongoDB operator. It's called $pull. Pull lets you remove items from an array that match certain criteria. To take a look at how this works, we are going to make a variable called lowercase u user, since this is an instance method, and we'll set it equal to this. Then down below, we can go ahead and call user.update. User.update doesn't take a query. We already have the user we're updating. All we do is pass in the updates object. Right here, we're going to use the pull operator, and the pull operator gets set equal to an object. And on here, we can define what we want to pull from. We're going to pull from the tokens array. I'll specify tokens, and we're going to pull any object on the array that has a token property equal to the token argument passed here. So if this token doesn't match anything in the array, it's not going to remove anything. If the token does match something in that array, it is going to get removed. Not just the token property, the entire object, which means the object with the ID, the access property, and the token property. That means there'll be one less item in the array. Now I am going to return this. This is going to let us chain together our call that we already set up over inside of server.js right here. And with this in place, we are done. There really isn't a heck of a lot to do when it comes to removing a token. I can simplify this even further. I have a property name equal to a variable with the same name, which means right here, I can just specify token like this. Now that we have this in place, let's go ahead and test things out over inside of Postman and see what happens when we make a request to log out a user. Before I make any requests, I'm going to go ahead and wipe my database once again so I can start fresh. If I refresh it, I can see I do indeed have a to-do app database. I'll go ahead and drop it. Then I can start up my server over inside of the terminal. Node server/server.js. Once the server is up and running, I'm going to head into Postman, make a user using the post users request, and the default data works just fine. I'm going to send off this user, and I do get a 200 back, which means that a user was successfully created. And I also have that XAuth token. Now, to prove that the XAuth token was actually saved inside of the database, I'm going to go ahead and open up the user's collection. I'm going to refresh to reveal the new database. Then we can go ahead and expand it, grabbing the user's collection and viewing all of those documents. Inside here, we have our one user, and there is indeed one token with the token value of the XAuth token we just got back. Now let's go ahead and try to remove this completely. Inside of Postman, I'm going to grab this XAuth token value, copy it to the clipboard, and make a brand new request. This is going to be a delete request. We're going to use the same base URL. The rest of the path is /users/me/token. Then I can go ahead and set up the proper header, which is the x-auth header, and I'm going to set it equal to the value of the token I just created. If I send this off, what do we get? We get a 200 back. And if I go into RoboMongo, we can go ahead and refresh the user's collection one more time. We still have our user, but this time there are no elements inside of the tokens array. And this is fantastic. Now, if I try to make the exact same request inside of Postman again, we're going to get a 401 unauthorized because this token no longer exists. And you have to be logged in order to make this request. With the request set up and working, I'm going to go ahead and save it to our collection so we can easily make it later on. Let's save this one as, changing the name to delete, followed by the URL. And I'm going to add it to our existing to-do app collection. Perfect. With that in place, we are done with our logout call. We'll be testing it in the next video, but for now, we can go ahead and make a commit, saving our changes. I'm going to run git status, and we have our two changed files as expected. I can run git commit with the AM flag, and right here, I'm going to go ahead and specify the message add, delete, users, me, token, route. I'm going to make that commit, push it up to GitHub, and that is it for this one. I will see you in the next video where we test our final route. From there on out, we'll be integrating the user collection with the to-do collection. Stay tuned. I will see you soon.